about over the next hour. We've got two fantastic guests. We've got Fergal O'Brien will be joining us very shortly, and also Jamie Snowden will be joining us later on, both to give an update on their horses and to answer your questions as well this evening. So lots and lots to hopefully ask them, and I hope you've got all your questions primed. I've had a few by email, so I've got those ready to ask as well. Now, I said a little bit of feedback really from members is I ought to give a lesson in how to use Zoom. Well, that suggests that I know what I'm doing, which is a little bit ambitious, but a couple of quick things then just to run through. First of all, in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a little button that says View. And if you click on that, it will give you different options about how to view the forum. So you can choose to either have the speakers view up or different people up. You can see everyone. So feel free to use that Zoom to change your preferred sort of viewing style, as it were. So also at the bottom of your screen, you will see a button that says Reactions. And if you click on there, one of the reactions that you can choose is to raise your hand. And that will help me a little bit, because if you raise your hand, it will mean that I know that you would like to ask a question. So feel free to raise your hand at any point, and we'll, hopefully we'll be able to get you on screen or at least hear you. So 2 buttons is as far as we'll go this week with our Zoom tutorial. View in the top right-hand corner and Reactions down at the bottom. So we had 2 runners this week. Well, not this week, over the last 2 weeks, really, because of the weather, which has been very, very frustrating. Not only has it meant that we've not been able to get a horse on the track, but of course it means once racing resumes, we're going to find that the meetings are so busy. We're going to have huge fields running. It's going to be very, very competitive. So it's really going to be challenging to find those winning opportunities, but hopefully a little bit of patience and we'll get Foxtrot back in the winner's enclosure very soon. So we've only had 2 runners. That was Anything for Love, who finished 4th in the Grade 2 at Haydock, and Grenadine Save, who ran this week and finished 9th in a Class 3 Mares Novice hurdle. We'll be speaking to Jamie about Anything for Love later on. Grenadine Save, let me just touch on her. I thought her run was a bit disappointing, really. She never really got into it. Now, after the race, it transpired that she did have a real breathing issue. She was struggling to breathe on that ground pretty much from about halfway, which is a little bit worrying. But the ground was incredibly testing. I mean, it really was. You could see how spread out they were even after a circuit. So that didn't suit her. She didn't enjoy the ground. She struggled with the breathing. And also, she does appear to be in season. So that's probably not helped her either. Plus the fact we're running in a Class 3 against some very, very good horses. I think there were 4 horses in the race that cost over £100,000. But having said all that, I don't think we should use those as excuses. You know, she's got to improve and certainly be looking for a better show next time. Otherwise, I think we may need to think about her future. But hopefully she'll show a bit more on better ground in maybe a Class 4 race to start her off on. But she'll have benefited from the experience. But I do think we need to see a little bit more from Grenadine Save going forwards. Now, as well as our 2 runners, we've also had some horses coming into training this week. And perhaps most interestingly is the Red Caps. So our team of 5 horses are now in with Dr. Newland. They came in from the field, they've had their shoes on, and they are all raring to go. And as you'll all be aware, Richard Newland's assistant, Rod Trow, loves the video. And he's put together a little video about the Red Caps, which I thought I'd just try and share with you now, if I can get the technology to work. So a little bit of fun there from Rod Trone. Those of you that are involved with the Red Caps, lots and lots to look forward to. So that's 5 horses going to run through the summer for us, hopefully pretty much a runner every week, and really looking forward to getting that new concept up and going. I know Richard New is very excited about it, and he ought to be, because pretty much he's subsidizing it. So I hope he's excited about it as anyone is. So really looking forward to them. Now let's move on and just talk about Fergal O'Brien's horses. So we've got 2 horses with Fergal. We've got Ultimate Fame, who is the sister of Ultimate Getaway. And we've had a little bit of fun with Ultimate Getaway. He's just come in from his holiday, and we'll be hearing from Fergal in a moment just to give us a little bit of an update as to him and how everything's going with him. And what I thought I'd do, just to sort of get us in the mood a little bit, is show a quick video just as a little reminder about Ultimate Getaway and how last season went for him.
But the greater good is still travelling very strongly. Luna Sovereign and Le Boulevardier are in a share of third. They're 3 furlongs from home as they reach the top of the home straight. The greater good stretching on again now by a couple of lengths from Sol de Mayo, hard ridden in second. Le Boulevardier with his head to one side is third. Ultimate Getaway under Paddy Brennan making good headway from the rear. Donny Azoff is staging a rally, and the greater good now has a fight on his hands as Le Boulevardier and between runners Ultimate Getaway emerges dangers. The greater good has lost the lead entering the final furlong. On the far side, it's Ultimate Getaway who's coming to claim Le Boulevardier with Donny Azoff finishing off best of all on the near side, but Ultimate Getaway will ultimately win going away with a shade in hand for Fergal O'Brien and Paddy Brennan. Inside, and Rickety Gate is also on terms as they head down towards the final quarter of the mile. It's Ultimate Getaway by a length to Den's Delight and Rickety Gate, with Flexi Furlow's effort now just beginning to peter out in fourth. They've drawn a long way clear of Abbott's Lodge with a furlong and a half to go. Ultimate Getaway from Den's Delight, a length and a half down in second. Back in third, Rickety Gate can do no more. Then follows Flexi Furlow. They're 200 yards from the line, and it's Ultimate Getaway by 2.5 lengths and galloping on resolutely to the line. Ultimate Getaway will defy his penalty, making all to beat Den's Delight into second. Rickety Gate home in third, clear of Flexi Furlow, and then a long gap to Abbott's Lodge, and just passing the quarter mile pole is Floated. They work their way up the home straight. Bravo Buddy, Ultimate Getaway, Cortland being switched to challenge on the outside. 3 virtually in line with just over a furlong to go. Cortland on the outside of Bravo Buddy. Ultimate Getaway on the inside in third. Cortland leads, but he's hanging to the inside all the while. Cortland goes on to win the finale. To the judge for second between Ultimate Getaway and Bravo Buddy.
For racing novices hurdle, and heading towards flight number 1, Ebnal Explorer goes keenly towards the outside of Ultimate Getaway. Oh, and goodness me, they come very close together over the first flight. Ultimate Getaway receiving a big bump from Ebnal Explorer, who went sharply out to his left. Up and over the second, and once again, Ultimate Getaway is hampered badly by Ebnal Explorer. So Ebnal Explorer's jumping very wayward over the first 2 flights and has done Ultimate Getaway no favours in 2 consecutive jumps there.
So a little reminder about Ultimate Getaway and the season that we had with him, and just to finish off with a little picture of him with his sister Ultimate Fame. And I'm delighted that Fergal's with us now. So good evening, Fergal.
Good evening all. How are you, Dan?
Very good. Thanks for giving up your time. And I know you had to drive back into the office so that you could join us. Wi-Fi not great in the Cotswolds.
No, I live in a little village called Soberton, and it has its pluses because I don't get phone signal or very good Wi-Fi signal there. So once I'm there, But look, it's a pleasure to come back and see so many. It's great to see so many people that have logged on, and it's great to see everyone. Yeah.
So, Fergal, let's start off with a little bit of an update. First of all, so we've got 2 horses with you, so Ultimate Getaway and Ultimate Fame. Can you tell us a bit about how they both are?
Yeah, Ultimate Fame, as you know, has been in a long time and on the go, and had a little bit of a setback with she hit a splint bone, so a little bit of a delay there. And then we've got her back going. She's up and more or less ready to run, and the ground's gone just terrible everywhere. You couldn't imagine trying to run one on this first time out. It would be a horrendous experience. And we did contemplate a jumpers bumpers, but again, I think that's her ideal start for your first time on the race course. So, everyone's being patient. I mean, if it goes on much longer, then we will have to give her a spin in a jumpers bumper just to get her out, so everyone knows that she does really exist. But she's there. She's working away. She's a lovely filly, and the whole family are. They're sort of late burners and late developers, so I'm sure we'll have an awful lot of fun with her. And then Ultimate Getaway, he's Paddy Brennan's got him at his place, and Paddy's got him going. He'll keep getting going for the next sort of couple of 3 weeks, and then he'll come back into us ready to go. One run in a novice hurdle, and then we got our option that we can either stay hurdling or go chasing. We feel he's a very good jumper, yeah.
So Ultimate Getaway, he's been with Paddy Brennan. Is that subsidising his income? Does he often do that, take horses with him away on holiday?
Well, I went over there the other day and I realised that he's got more horses than I have. So it's more than subsidising his income. And I suppose really it's it's a swear word around here when Paddy's here, but it's probably a means to a look at his retirement, and he's, Paddy, realises that they can't go on forever. And look, I'm not saying that he's going to retire tomorrow or the day after, but he's got a lovely place just outside Broadway, a place called Willersley. He's got about 25 acres there of his own, and then he rents another probably 40 acres. And he's got a couple of barns and stuff where Ultimate Getaway and Lochar and a few of the others were there during the winter. He's got 10 stables by his house, horse walker, plenty of hacking and stuff. So, yeah, he's got one full-time person there. And, at the minute, it's great for him because if he goes off, he's got a full-time and a part-time person there. But if he's there, he can get involved. But, it's something that's definitely sort of in the back of his mind. I firmly believe in, I'm the hope, the planet that I have is that Paddy won't ever properly retire, and he'll stay, even if he doesn't stay riding the chasers and hurdlers, he'll stay riding the bumper horses because I think he's phenomenal in bumpers. And it's just a great feedback, and he can tell you when he comes back whether this wants to win another bumper or wants to go for another bumper and it'll win a bumper, or whether it needs another bumper for experience. And his feedback is phenomenal, and he's a big part of what we do at Ravenswell Farm. Yeah.
Well, obviously you mentioned there about your new yard, and just tell us a little bit, obviously, when did you move there, and just tell us a little bit about the facilities that you've got at Ravenswell's farm.
Well, look, I was very lucky, and I have to say, touch wood, throughout my life, and since I especially come to England, I have relied a lot on lady luck. But to end up where we have at Ravenswell Farm, which is 7 miles outside from the centre of Cheltenham, we're just 2 miles, mile and a half off the A40, so great road links. And Rupert and Nicky Lowe. Rupert Lowe is my landlord, and he was ex-chairman of Southampton Football Club. Knows nothing about racing. Well, he professes to know a little bit about racing now, but they've been fantastic. I turned up here, there was 3 sheds. He said, I've got no real interest, so this really has to work for me financially, he said. So we put a sort of package together, and look, what started up was meant to be sort of 40 stables, and maybe Rupert spending 400,000 or something like that, putting some stables and gallops in, has soon spiraled to probably the best part of £1 million. But from our point of view, and I'm not trying to big the place up, you've seen it yourself, it's got a phenomenal gallop. Rupert didn't spare on what we've got here, an all-weather schooling strip, which cost us 70 grand. Our gallop alone could have been put in for probably 100,000, 150,000 if we went for cheaper materials on a membrane, but the gallop itself cost $250,000. Last year we completed our round gallop, a 3 furlong sand gallop, which again, if we'd have done it in budget, we probably could have got away with 40, 50 grand. It ended up costing us 90 grand because he wanted it done right. And so it's things like that make the difference. Looking forward to, I'm not sure any of you seen our owner's room and accommodation, because I think probably we'd gone properly into lockdown by the time all that had finished. But we've got a fantastic owner's room and accommodation for 8 girls here at the minute. So it's just great to have it all. It's a wonderful place to train. There's a lot of fresh air. I tell Kim Bailey he's got the best view in the Cotswolds now because he's across the other side of the valley. He doesn't quite agree with me. He says I've got the best view, but anyway, it's working well for all of us. It works well for Rupert and Nicky. You know, we rent 100 acres as well, so we got a lot of turnout. We make our own haylage. The farm itself is on about 550 acres, so all our straw bedding comes from there. So very low carbon footprint as well, because everything's brought in, everything's here. You know, not everything, but the hay and the straw is already here. So yeah, so we've been very lucky to land here.
And it sounds like, I mean, you must have been a bit of a project manager, were you? Because if you started off with a couple of barns, you've really built the whole place completely from scratch.
Yeah, and look, I certainly feel Dr. Newland's pain. I went to Dr. Newland's before it was finished, and you know, we were. I don't want this to sound wrong, but we had a slightly smaller budget than Dr. Newland had. You know, they put granite stone in and things like that. But you know, Dr. Newland, they built a fantastic place, and you know, I was very lucky to go and have a look around his new place. And I would know Wayne Jones from Nigel's, and you know, he's been a very big part of Dr. Newland's, and you know, that fantastic video that Roderick did as well. It's just phenomenal that, you know, they can do that, and it's great for syndicates. But yeah, so we turned up here and it was literally barns, and again, you know, credit to Rupert and Nicky. We had a budget, and we kept all these things, just kept stretching, and like I said, everything that we sort of asked for, you know, Rupert provided. And it all sort of goes, look, it goes on the rent at the end of the day. So we've got to make it work for everyone. But you know, they have been very good. Now, I feel we got a, you know, fantastic facility, and touch wood, you know, that it'll keep continuing to go as it is.
Well, we're going to ask in a moment if anyone's got any questions or can quiz you, Fergal. So we'll ask for any questions in a second. But just before that, I mean, this season, it seems to have gone incredibly well. I was having a look at your stats earlier on this evening, 20% strike rate, 75 wins. And considering all the issues that we've had to contend with COVID and the weather, I mean, absolutely phenomenal. I bet you must be pinching yourself.
Yeah, and look, as a trainer, and you know, yeah, no, I'm not a pessimist and I'm an optimist. I'm a realist, you know. But as a trainer, you're sort of not waiting, but you just, you know, you're thinking, you know, even all my years at Nigel's, we would have a month or 5 weeks where things were you know, would go down. But Touchwood here seems very healthy. It's just a fantastic place to train. You know, I'm very proud. Ultimate Getaway was our first winner of those 75 in July, and that bumper's worked out really well. You know, Lunar Sovereign, which is one of ours, was in that bumper as well. He's come out and won two novice hurdles and the other day at Doncaster. You know, and that's testament to the place. You know, he's not the fastest in the world, but we've got a very good galloper. We don't have to overtrain them, and they get very fit on the gallop. And so when he turned up at Doncaster on not great ground the other day, actually got headed going to 3 out, and you know, just managed to outstay him in the end. So yeah, we do pinch ourselves, and we realize we're very, very lucky, and we just got to keep it going.
Well, let's see if anyone's got any questions for Fergal. So if you have, just raise your hand. There's a reaction button at the bottom of your screen. If you tap that, you should then be able to raise your hand, and then we'll get you on, and you can ask Fergal a question directly. So just tap the reaction button at the bottom of your screen, and then tap the button that says raise your hand. So let's go over. Tony, you've got a question. Let's get you on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Tony. How are you?
Hiya, Fergal. I've met you once. It was at the old place before you went to Ravenswell. Didn't turn out too well, unfortunately. I was involved in a horse called Black Sam Silver, but never mind.
Very unfortunate.
These things happen, don't they?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, your young lass, Fern, she's talented, isn't she, and schools a lot of your horses. Do you think she's going to end up going into like being a jockey and stuff? What do you reckon?
Yeah, she's actually here with me tonight. Yeah, look, I'm very lucky in that Fern is, and Fern's very lucky that she's got this opportunity. But it's a case that we actually spoke about tonight coming here, that, you know, I don't want her to do something that she doesn't want to do, and I don't want her to feel the burden of expectation because you know, this is what we do. She is very good, and I know I'm her dad, but she's very natural. She's got lovely hands for when we're schooling horses. You know, horses that jump bad, you know, when they come back from the races next time, I'm pretty certain that I'll get her to sit on him and get him going again, because she just gives him confidence. So, yeah, look, she'll have all the opportunities that she wants, and it's down to, when you get to that different level as well, really need to want it, and you really need a lot of talent, and the talent seems to be there at the minute. The raw talent is there from what I've seen. I've grown up watching Sam and Willie Twist and Davis, and at this stage, I would say Fern is equal to them. And you'll know Sam from riding for Foxtrot.
Yeah.
Fern is equal to them, and so yeah, it's just whether she wants to go on and has the heart to go on. It's a tough job, and I don't want the fact that she's a girl to be a barrier. I don't think that should be a hindrance. She's good enough. With Rachel Blackmore in Ireland, Bryony Frost over here, doing phenomenal work and doing phenomenal job for lady riders. But so the opportunities will be here. So hopefully, she'll be able to take them.
Very good. Thanks, Ferg.
Cheers. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you.
So if anyone else got a question, please do raise your hands. Thanks very much, Tony. And Fergal, I've had a couple of messages here with a couple of questions, so let me throw these at you. So one of the questions, with the weather as it is at the moment, how do you ensure that your horses are fit and ready to go? Because almost you don't know when they're going to run, and suddenly you get them ready for Saturday. They're not running on Saturday. They might not be able to find another super race for another week. How do you deal with that as a trainer?
I think when you come to this time of year, the majority of your horses have had a run, so you're more or less on tick over anyway. We're very lucky. Like I said, the gallop is very good. It drains very well, so we're very lucky to be on that. So the surface is there, but it is tricky. Hurricane Harvey has been building up to this race on Saturday at Weatherby, which looks like it might be off to a Grade 2 chase. Hasn't run for probably 4 or 5 weeks, and to find another option. Astillan is the same. We ran him at the rescheduled Chepstow meeting to bring him on for the Heroes race at Sandown. That's been off, so we've had to substitute the Cleve. Now it's not ideal because he's wrong with the weights, but at the end of the day, he's qualified for the Pertemps, so we need to run him now and no later than now or next week probably, to give him a nice break before Cheltenham. So it's difficult, but it's the same for all of us. It is just the same, and I think it's hard. It's been a particularly hard year because we've got horses that haven't run for a long time. Ultimate Fame hasn't run at all and sort of been ready and not ready, and it's hard because at least if we were in normal times, people could come and watch him work. And as here at Ravens, or even when we were at Naunton, we love when people come to the yard, and it's a big part of what we do is to try and get people involved, not just on the race day, but to encourage them to come to the yard and to see what we do, not just for their horse, because I feel what they'll do is they'll walk away following Connor, they'll follow Liam, they'll meet Paddy, and they'll see he's not as grumpy as he normally is when they see him at a race course. And they'll see what horse is living next door to Ultimate Fame, and that'll be a name that'll stick in their heads, and who's riding Ultimate Getaway and things like that. So coming to the yard is a massive part of what we do, and so it's been difficult to keep people sort of involved. But like you saw, we're trying lots of videos and try and keep people informed.
Brilliant. Well, certainly doing that, Phil. I appreciate it must be very difficult from your situation. But let's grab another question. So John would like to know, is there a race that you really would like to win that you haven't already won? Is there one race that you sort of think at the start of the season, oh, I'd love to win that one? Oh
yeah, look, and obviously, being realistic, any Cheltenham race, we were very unlucky to come up against Presenting Percy with Barney Dwan, who finished second for us, because Barney Dwan was a fantastic little horse that came to us from Donald McCain's, and when Jason sent him to us, he said, look, he's small, he'll probably end up being a handicapper up the north, but do what you can with him. And that was the first one of the Rooney horses that I got. And he turned out to be phenomenal. He won the EBF final for us, which was a big Saturday winner for us at Sandown. And it gave the Rooneys and Jason sort of a lot of faith in us, and we ended up probably training 9 or 10 horses from. For him, when we went to Cheltenham with him, he we just every box was ticked going in there. The time before the race, the way he qualified, everything was right, and he travelled to the race beautifully. And you know, when I was watching the race, I just all the way I was just very relaxed watching because I thought Paddy had him in a beautiful position. And so I'd love to go back and hopefully win the Pretemps with maybe a Imperial Alcazar this year. You know, he's a similar type of horse, probably a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more rub of the green on the day.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck, and let's hope that this year a little bit more luck falls your way.
Hopefully.
So we've got 100 people on this call at the moment, and I see we've got about 25 people watching on YouTube. So it's great to have so many people watching, but I think it's made everyone a bit nervous about asking a question. So you're off the hook. But let's finish off, Fergal, just by going back to our couple of horses and just looking ahead. So we've mentioned about Ultimate Fame, really, just to sort of clarify. So we're just waiting for a little bit of better ground for her, and then hopefully find a suitable sort of mare's bumper.
Yeah, and if we don't get that in the next, couple of weeks, then will our hand will be forced to run her in a, at the minute that we've had one mare's bumper on the all weather. I think that's all we've had so far, which we won up at Newcastle. And so, if they put a mare's bumper on next week at Kempton or Linkfield or somewhere, then we'll get her out and run her, But yeah, it would be nice to get her on the grass and see how we go. Yeah, and then Ultimate Getaway. Long term is he'll be back in the spring and a run over hurdles, and then we'll see where we go from there. If that goes well, we might take in another hurdle race, but we feel that he'll be a very good steeplechaser.
So might even be going chasing this year, and I suppose he's got one more run, hasn't he? Probably to get a handicap mark. So yeah, give us a few options with him as well.
Yeah, I think the important thing is getting back, giving him another run in a novice hurdle. That'll put the sharpness on him. And this year, I think we had 3 very good runs last year. I think his first run over hurdles, he wasn't done any favors by the one jumping into him. And then by the time we got to his last run, I think probably he'd been on the go a long time. He'd come to us from a point-to-point yard. Whereas we're going into this year fresh and well and starting off, and we're looking forward to a bit more longevity as well.
And just going back to Ultimate Fame, I mean, what have you sort of thought about her in terms of, obviously you've seen her on the gallops, but what's your view about her in terms of, is she sort of living up to what we might have hoped from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, definitely. I'd be disappointed. I'd never say one's going to win a bumper because you never know what's in there. But I'd be disappointed if she wasn't very competitive in bumpers. And I can just see her having a couple of bumper runs, whichever way that may go, and then just go on over hurdles and see how she goes for the rest of the season over hurdles. She the whole family have been sort of slow burners and get better with age. So fingers crossed. And at some point it would be lovely to sort of you'd hope to get a little bit of black type somewhere, so it makes her a little bit more valuable when she comes to the end of her racing career. So that would be our aim, and that's always our aim, especially with mares, is to find that somewhere.
Brilliant. Well, Fergal, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. We really do appreciate it.
Pleasure.
We certainly wish you all the best for the rest of the season, but particularly with Ultimate Getaway and Ultimate Fame.
Well, thanks very much, Dan, and looking forward to getting everyone back to Ravenswell Farm and having some nice mornings on the gallops.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again, Fergal. Really do appreciate your time.
Cheers, Dan. Thank you.
Brilliant. So that's Fergal O'Brien, and very good of him to pop into the office this evening to get some proper Wi-Fi so that he can chat with us. So always good to hear from our trainers. And apologies to those that wanted to ask a question that didn't get a chance just at the end there, but I'm sure we'll get you on shortly. Now, just before we go on to Jamie Snowden, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an update in terms of some entries, because I'm very aware that particularly if you're in Manila Encore, I'm So Busy, and probably Little Roy Mac, you've had a series of texts from me saying your horse has entered, followed by a series of texts saying race abandoned. And not only is it doing my phone bill no good, but no doubt your sanity as well, because we've had so many, particularly with those 3 horses, so many entries and horses and races being abandoned. It's very, very frustrating. So I thought I'd just run through with you now 1 or 2 entries from Richard Newland's yard. I spoke to him earlier on this evening just to get a little bit of an update. Now, we didn't talk through all the horses, but just if you're in Ballybody, he obviously made his debut not so long ago, and we're going to get him out again. He's looking for entries at Fosslas on the 11th of February. There's a nice race at Kempton on the 12th, and there's a race at Warwick on the 13th. So he'll be out sort of middle of the month, weather depending. I'm So Busy has been very busy with entries, and everything keeps getting abandoned. So we're going to try at Market Rasen on the 9th. We're going to look at Exeter on the 14th. Kelso on the 19th. There's a race at Carlisle on the 22nd and at Lingfield on the 22nd. He's a horse we just want to be patient with because we think he's got a real winning opportunity, and we don't really want to be running him in a very, very competitive novice hurdle where if he was to win, he's going to go up £10 as a result. So we just want to be a little bit careful where we place I'm So Busy. Little Roy Mack, he's had plenty of entries, but again, we've had no luck at all, particularly with that race at Foss Last, which frankly looked like a perfect race for him. But he's going to have some more entries. Again, looking at these 2 mile chasers, ideally with Sandtwist and Davies on board. Uttoxeter the 21st, Newcastle the 27th, and Plumpton on the 1st of March are possibilities for him. Manila Encore, again, another horse we've had lots of entries for, but all been abandoned. So he may well go to Taunton on the 9th. That race is shaping up like it could well work for Manila Encore. So the 9th at Taunton. Otherwise, there's a race for him at Kempton on the 12th, Newbury on the 13th, or Lingfield Park on the 15th. If you're Mr. Muldoon, you'll be delighted to know we're going to think about running him towards the end of the month. He's working really well. He's had a little break. He's come back. He's moving exceptionally well on the gallops. We're looking forward to getting him back in. So he's going to be entered possibly at Exeter on the 26th, Ludlow on the 4th of March, and Sedgefield, where, of course, he won earlier this season on the 7th of March. He'll also probably get an entry for the Grade 3 Ultima Handicap Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. But let's see how he works over the next couple of weeks, and then we can firm up our plans for Mr. Muldoon. Whispering Gypsy, she again has had a few entries, but the ground has been horrendous wherever she's been entered. So we're going to put in another entry for her on the 11th of February at Huntingdon. So hopefully Whispering Gypsy can make her Foxtrot debut then. And we've got coming up, hopefully on Saturday, another horse that's had a series of abandonments is Witness Protection. So he's been entered today for an extra race at Wetherby. That race may only happen if they cancel the chasers. There, Fergal O'Brien was talking about cancelling the chase races. Inspection at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. If Wetherby cancel their chasers, then they're going to run an 8 or 9 runner hurdle card, and that will include a handicap over 2 miles that we will declare Witness Protection for if that race goes ahead. Sorry if I've not mentioned your horse in all of that, but lots and lots of difficulties, I think, trying to get these horses races at the moment, but we need to be patient to make sure that we run them in the right races and don't just lose patience and run them for the sake of it and end up getting a £10 off the handicapper, or nevertheless running really well and finishing 3rd or 4th because we've just run them in the wrong race. So we need to be patient and get these horses in the right place. Now, moving on from racing, it's an interesting month, not just for our racing syndicates, but also for our breeding syndicate, because later this month, we are expecting our 3rd Foxtrot foal, which is very, very exciting for our breeding syndicate. And what I thought I'd do, if I can get it to work, is just share a few photographs with you, just so that those that aren't in the syndicate can get a feel for maybe what's been going on with our breeding syndicate. Now let's see if I can get this to work. Here we go. So I hope that you can see a little picture here, which is of Midnight Silver, who I know many of you were involved with when she was a very successful horse for us. And we've got Midnight Silver here with her first foal, who was a colt. And we may have just lost that. I hope you can still hear me. Let's try again. We'll try this again. It's a bit dangerous.
We can still hear you.
So we'll try and get the pictures up again. They're quite fun to look at. Let's try one more time. Tell you the story of our breeding syndicate. No, I'm not sure. Well, let me just tell you through it anyway. So Midnight Silver had a colt back in March 2019. and we decided that we would sell the colt. Colts generally are worth up to sort of 10 times as much as fillies. So we felt that if we had a colt, we could sell and cover our costs. If we had a filly, we would keep her. So the first year in 2019, she had a lovely colt who was by telescope. And I'm just going to try one more time to get the photos up, because I did have a practice run and got them up. Here we are. There we are. We're back again. Let's see if we can get this to work. So there's our Midnight Silver with our colt. And we sent him to the sales. And this is him now. Looks a little bit different. Now based in Northern Ireland. I expect he'll be probably going through the sales ring as well. In fact, he's been pinhooked. Someone buys the horses as a foal and then sells them on as a yearling. So he will probably be going through the sales ring shortly. So we'll be looking out to see how he gets on. And then last year, Midnight Silver had a filly foal, this again by telescope. And we've been following her progress this year as she's grown. This is her with Midnight Silver, getting a little bit bigger. This picture was taken in April last year. And this picture was taken in June. And she's starting now to look a little bit like a racehorse. These were taken in the summer. This picture was taken of her in October. And here she is at Christmas, so with a woolly winter coat on. This is her Christmas winter coat. And we are planning to keep her. And hopefully we'll be able to put her into training, and hopefully one day she'll be running in the Foxtrot colours. So Midnight Silver is now pregnant again, this time to royalty. She's pregnant to Dartmouth, the sire Dartmouth, and we are expecting our third foal around the end of this month. So Midnight Silver, in her stable, she wears a bell, in effect, an alarm, which goes off if she's about to give birth so that someone can come and oversee her and help her out. And this is her in a stable with her alarm fitted. And we're very excited to find out if we get another colt or if we get a filly. So that's going to be exciting news for our breeding syndicate at the end of the month. So hopefully lots for them to look forward to. And I didn't know if anyone, either from the breeding syndicate, would like to just tell us a little bit about their experience over the last couple of years. It's been something we've never done before at Foxtrot, and something I think we've all been learning a little bit as we go along. Deborah, let's come to you. Tell us a little bit about you involved in the breeding syndicate. How have you found it?
Can you all hear me? Can you hear me, Dan?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
How have I found it? It's been amazing. Actually, Peter has been excellent. We've been to the stallion parades. We've been to a really good talk by Brian Mayo, who's a breeder of Anything for Love, who's talked about how he chooses who he's going to breed from. What you can't see from those photos is the colt was actually a little bit smaller than the filly. I went to see the filly in August, and she was really bold, very confident, exactly what we want her to be. Midnight Silver has to date been a brilliant mum and had good birth, so that's excellent. That's what we're hoping for this time. I have to say I love it. I love it just as much as the racing. I think we're all of us do. I know there are other people from the syndicate on here who will probably say the same. You know, Judith, you know, Val, any of you, Jackie, you know, want to say something, you know, do. But yes, it is very, very good. Very enjoyable. Fascinating to see all the mares that are there. The foals, the yearling, all the thought that goes into it. The vet's there every day. I think that's about it, isn't it, Dan?
Well, I think you summed it up very well. It's certainly a very different sort of type of syndicate. And I think during lockdown, it's probably been a little bit challenging because at least with the racing syndicates, we've been able to get pictures of our horses racing. You know, we can watch them on television, whereas when they're at the stud, it's a little bit harder. But so far, we've kept Midnight Silver to British stallions, which of course qualifies her foals for the Great British Bonus, which those of you in Anything for Love will appreciate how valuable these bonuses are. So we're very excited that our filly foal is qualified for the bonuses, and hopefully we'll eventually get her into training. And I thought it may be worth just explaining, but she'll go into a pre-trainer at the end of her 2-year-old year. So when she's 2, she'll go into a pre-trainer. At 3, we should get a bit of an idea as to whether or not she's got any ability, and perhaps towards the end of her 3-year-old year, we will get her into a proper racehorse trainer and have a look and hopefully get her onto a racetrack, perhaps as a 4-year-old. So it's not a short-term game, but one that's very exciting and very interesting. Is there anyone else from the breeding syndicate that's like to say anything?
Come on, Pat and Judith, don't be shy.
See, I can't see many people rushing, so we've maybe covered that one. But we thought it would be fun to just give a little bit of an update on our breeding syndicate. And thanks, Deborah, for your input on that, because it is a little bit different and one that we perhaps don't cover as much as we could do on our weekly update. So hopefully everyone will be looking out for some news at the end of the month in regard to Midnight Silver.
Dan, can I ask a question?
Yes, Michael. Yeah.
Over things, you're all well in the UK?
We're good. So, Michael, you're coming to us from Ireland.
Yeah, just down way down the south in County Cork. Just a question there on the breeding, because obviously I kind of had an interest in it for a couple of years here myself, having bred a few. Had not much luck with them, but it is a hard old game. But who decides? Is it the stud decide what stallions you go to, or is it have you an input into it yourselves? Or the lady might have said it there, but I missed it. Do you like the picking of the stallions down and stuff like that? Yeah. I know you've gone to the two you mentioned.
Well, I have to admit, I don't think any of us are world experts on breeding, and very much so far we've slightly followed the advice of a chap called Peter Huckenhall, who oversees the stud where Midnight Silver is based. Yeah. And we've tried to stick to British stallions at the moment and kept things very simple. So Pitchell stud Shade Oak stud where she lives, we've used the stallions that are there, kept it very simple, and so we used Telescope for the first 2 years, and this year went to Dartmouth. But the way it's been decided is very much by putting it to the syndicate and asking people to. This year we did a little vote in terms of we did a short list of stallions, and we did a little vote to see, and Dartmouth just came out on top this year, so we changed it and we're going to have our first Dartmouth foal. So I think that's a little bit of the fun as well, is doing the research on the stallions and trying to decide which one you think might work out best. Yeah,
it was interesting when you started looking at the stallion book and you were trying to pick them out. Obviously price has a big bearing on it as well, but when you're going through the stallion, over here anyway, when we're going through the stallion books, you're always looking to see how to match your mare to whatever. And of course, they're all pushing different stallions. You have new stallions coming out from Coolmore every year. So it is we have, I suppose, if you were in the breeding game, it is ideal now at the moment over here because we have so many new stallions coming on. But I always interested in seeing what wins by what, So like the likes of, with the new stallions, especially see what's doing well and what's doing well at the sales. Then I always have an interest in watching. I know how the sales are doing to see what stallions are selling, just for maybe future I might win the Euro Millions tomorrow night and get involved again. But no, I just wanted to know, because it's a thing I was interested in for a long time before I suppose trying to breed a winner, but it's a hard old game, as you know. So anyway, look, best of luck, God, stay safe, and please God, we'll all meet up sometime maybe later this year, please God.
Well, Michael, very good to hear from you. Keep well in Ireland, and great to still have you involved with Foxtrot. So pass my best wishes on to Ray.
We stay involved, Dan. Don't worry, we stay involved. You're good and you're lucky. Cheers.
It's always interesting checking the stallion because I'm never quite sure whether or not you need to get the same attributes in the hope that you're going to get one of those in your foal, or whether or not you go for completely different attributes in the hope that you'll get a bit of that and a bit of that, or maybe you'll end up with none of them. So I'm never quite sure if you want the same attributes in the stallion and the mare, or whether or not you want completely different attributes. Who knows? Richard Morris Adams, I should just come to you for advice because you'll always be able to tell us what to do. Now, Oscar, have you got a question, or has Kate or Sean got a question?
Yes, it was me. Well, I was going to say, in terms of the stallion selection, obviously we've sort of taken a lot of advice as well from Brian Mayo, who's a big involvement in Shade Oak Stud, and obviously bred sizing John, so he has got some good form, and he's very keen on Telescope as a potential future Midnight Legend style stallion, and hopes that he'll be the sort of stallion that will actually improve the mares that go to him. But also I think we were all quite impressed over the last couple of seasons that we've seen the Dartmouth foals actually come out. They're looking pretty impressive, aren't they, Dan? They're quite sizable, quite leggy. And we're hoping that this being Silver's third foal and having now sort of her body sort of adapting to putting some good quality nutrients into her foals, that we're going to end up with a really stonking foal, whether it's a filly or a colt.
Well, absolutely. And as you say, the first one tends, what we've learned, the first one tends to sort of be the smallest. And as the mare gets more and more used to producing, and their body changes and allows them to produce bigger foals, we're hopeful that the second and even the third one are going to be the ones that will win the Champion Hurdle and then go on to be the first horse to win the Champion Hurdle and the Grand National.
Definitely.
So great. Well, let's move on from Midnight Silver, but let's see if her ex-trainer is with us, because I'm hoping Jamie Snowden may have joined us while we've been talking about Midnight Silver. But Jamie, are you somewhere with us? I'm just I'm not sure if I can see you on my list. Are you here? No, there's silent. Bit worrying, isn't it? Well, I guess isn't it. I do know Jamie rang me and said, I've got to do a radio interview. It'll be at 7:30. Should be done by 10 to 8. Won't be a problem. Anyway, so perhaps he's somewhere on the radio still, but hopefully Jamie will join us in a second. I'm just seeing if he's here. Jamie, are you with us now? Not yet. Science is always a bit worrying, isn't it? Well, we're going to get Jamie on to talk about Beholden, Anything for Love, and Hogan's Height. Now, Anything for Love ran fourth in Grade 2 at Haydock. And is there anyone who is in Anything for Love that would like to make any comments or have a little bit of an input into how Anything for Love did at Haydock? No. Well, obviously not, but thankfully I do think Jamie may have saved me here. Jamie, are you with us?
I am. Hi Dan, how are you?
Thank you for joining us straight off the radio, I hear.
Straight off the radio, yeah. So I am every Thursday, just ever since the whole sort of COVID hit, a lovely chap down in the West Country has set up a radio station, and obviously I'm from the West Country originally, so he nabbed hold of me, and every Thursday night we do a sort of 20-minute session on our runners from the previous week and looking forward, and yeah, it's just a bit of fun, and he puts it out, and yeah, no, it's great. It's all part and parcel of our new life that we're leading at the moment.
Well, sounds like you've been keeping yourself very busy, and how are sort of you and family, Jamie? Are you all keeping well? How's the homeschooling coming along?
Well, yeah, I rather the homeschooling is coming along great. The children are handling it brilliantly. I've been demoted from maths, and I'm now in charge of PE. So I've rather taken it as a promotion, but I think it probably is a demotion.
We had to do history at the start of this week, and Toby has become quite interested in the Grand National for some reason, and so we did a history project on Foxtrot and how Foxtrot won the Grand National, which I thought was a really good story. But the bit that Toby loved was he found this picture of Foxtrot going to Buckingham Palace after the race, you know, obviously to meet the Queen having won the Grand National. But the best thing is in the photographs, black and white pictures of this, there's a goat. because little did you know, Foxtrot had a pet goat, a sort of mate who was a goat who went to Aintree, and then they had to take the goat to Buckingham Palace with the horse in order to meet the Queen, because Foxtrot wouldn't go without the goat. So, so this week it was show and tell. So yesterday was show and tell. So Toby's show and tell was a picture of a goat in Buckingham Palace. Which was
wonderful.
So that's proper history, isn't it? That's what I'm teaching my child. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, fair play, Dan. That's a good story. I didn't know that. I did remember. Do you remember Remittance Man of Nicky Henderson's?
I do. Yes. Yeah.
Certainly, growing up, I always loved Rich Dunwoody on Remittance Man, and Remittance Man had a sheep that used to go everywhere with him. Called Dolly, I think it was, or Molly or something, but the sheep went everywhere with Remittance Man. So yeah, I suppose listen, if Hogan's Height can go and win the Grand National, we might send some pet up with him or something.
Maybe that's the missing ingredient. Absolutely, yeah. Well, Jamie, let's talk about our horses then, and why don't we start with Hogan's Height? So can you give us a bit of an update on how he is and what plans are going forward?
So Hogan is brilliant. I'm delighted to say that, touch wood, everything is going really nicely now this time round. Obviously, we had a couple of blips with him, just really unfortunate blips before Christmas and before the cross country, obviously. But he's in fine fettle. He's working great, schooling well, and he's on target for his prep run, which will be over hurdles, probably either at Haydock or in Canton on the 20th of Feb. We're going to put an entry in for a veterans chase down at Exeter before the weights for the Grand National are revealed, in order to try and secure our chase mark of 146, and hope that persuades the handicapper to leave him on 146 and not drop him a pound or anything for having a bit of time off the track.
So, Jamie, can you just explain, particularly for those that aren't in Hogan's Heights, and I'm delighted, I mean, I'm just looking now, we've got 96 people all involved with our Zoom here, and we've got another 30 watching live on YouTube, so it's great to have so many people involved. But, Jamie, can you just explain, why is this handicap mark so important? And surely we spend all our time wanting horses' handicap marks to come down, not up.
Well, you're right there. Every time I speak to the handicap, I'm usually asking for a pound or two off the horse's rating. And this time round, I'm eager to keep as high a rating as we possibly can, because as far as Hogan's Heights is concerned and getting into the Grand National, the higher the handicap mark, the better the chance he has of actually getting into the race. And on all known history of the Grand National, you need to be mid 140s to get into the race. The race has changed dramatically over the last 10, 15, 20 years. As we all know, the fences have been modified, and the ground has changed, and what have you. So it's become a far safer race, which is all for the benefit of the horse, which is really imperative, and I'm sure all of the listeners and everyone in Foxtrot will agree that horses do come first. So they're all the right changes for the Grand National. But in doing that and making it £1 million race, the better horses are now all going to the race. So even 20 years ago, a horse rated 110 would get in the Grand National. Now you need to be 145 to even consider running in the Grand National. So 146 would have got us, we believed would have got us in it last year. We're rather hoping that we stay on 146 and have every chance of getting in it this year. Obviously, having had a bit of time off the track, the handicapper can drop and raise horses as they want. And I spoke to the handicapper and said, listen, we won the Grand Sefton last year. The horse in third happened to come and win it this year. I think we should be going up in the handicap. He said, "Nice try, Jamie. I'm going to leave you on 146 for the moment, but we'll see when the entries come out and frame the race from there." So I hope we stay on 146, and we'll do everything we can to stay on 146 and persuade the handicapper to leave us on 146. But there is a chance we might come down to maybe 145.
So putting the Grand National, which is obviously the long-term aim, aside, what about between now and April? So what are our sort of running plans, and what are our strategy for Hogan's Height between now and the Grand National?
So we need to get a prep run into him over hurdles, and we're going to do that in a couple of weeks' time. And we'll have a couple of entries at Haydock and Wincanton on the 20th of Feb. And then that will lead us nicely into the festival and the cross-country chase at the festival. Obviously, he schooled round there brilliantly when he picked up that thorn in his back joint, but he schooled round there beautifully. I put that video together, which hopefully some of your viewers may have seen. But he was a real natural over them. So we'll definitely go to the cross country at the festival, all guns blazing, and hopefully win that, and then go on to the national afterwards.
Sounds like a very good plan to me. Excellent. So that's Hogan's High. And I've had a question here from Jenny and Mick, who are new to Foxtrot and have joined our Beholden syndicate. And they would like to know how Beholden is and how he's settling into the yard.
Brilliantly, in fairness. He did really well for his holiday, got nice and tubby and round and fat. And he's come back in. He's done a few weeks trotting around the bridle paths and what have you, just to get the excess tummy off. And he's just started cantering this week. Really lovely horse, really lovely. He seems very, very, very easy, which is wonderful. He eats, he sleeps, and he gets on with the job. We haven't popped a pole with him yet, but that once we get him into his canter routine and settling into his canter work, we'll get him into the outdoor school and get him over a pole on the ground with some barrels and start his jumping education, because certainly novice hurdling is obviously where we're going with him, probably in April time on a bit of nicer ground.
Yeah, so lots to look forward to with him. And then Anything for Love is our third horse with you, Jamie. And how is she?
She's brilliant. She's bouncing. She's taken her races really well this year, and she comes out of every one of them, wanting more. She's got a great attitude to life, really. And if you had every horse in the yard had her enthusiasm, and in fairness, all of your three horses, Hogan, he's now an old boy. He bounces out of his stable every day wanting to go up the gallop. He's just got a great mind on him. But Anything for Love, she's taken her racing really well. Obviously, it's wonderful to get those 2 wins into her earlier in the season. She just found the grade 2 over 2 miles at Haydock just a little bit sharp for her, and she got done for speed, really. I was rather hoping that the heavy ground would bring her stamina into play. Obviously, stamina is her strong point, Black Sam Bellamy, and obviously being assisted to Size and John. But I was rather hoping we could maybe nick a little bit of black type and finish third over 2 miles, and then have a bit of a free rein to have a bit of fun for the rest of the season. But that wasn't to be. So we'll step her up and trip for a next start, and really the 3 mile listed Mares Novice at Doncaster probably looks the likely next target with her.
So in effect, she's won her novices in such great style, and now we're almost finding out how good really is she in terms of stepping her up a little bit in class and taking on some of the very top horses. And there, Jamie, you mentioned about black type. Could you just explain what does that actually mean?
So when you open up the pedigree of horses, and you will see that some horses are in bold, big black, bold black type, and some are, and that's in uppercase, and some are in lowercase, bold black type, and some are not in bold. The horses that have in their pedigree are in lowercase bold, means that they've finished second or third in a class 1. So as we all know, every race in England is classed between a class 1 and a class 6, and a class 1 is then itself separated into class 1 grade 1, class 1 grade 2, class 1 grade 3, and class 1 listed. So if you finish second or third in a listed grade 3, grade 2, or grade 1, i.e. a class 1, you get the lowercase bold black type. If you win, a Class 1, you get uppercase bold black type. And as far as fillies and mares are concerned, it's all important, because in their future career as a broodmare, if they're seen to be having bold black type in their pedigree, then their offspring are far more valuable. And as far as Anything for Love is concerned, she's obviously been leased into our syndicate, and we're having an awful lot of fun out of her. But one thing that the breeder has requested is that after we've done our winning, we go and try and get a little bit of black type if we can. So having won our 4 races, it was the obvious time to have a crack at it. Obviously, we finished 4th, which was a really good run, but it wasn't 3rd. So we need to try and throughout the course of her career, attempt to get some black type. And the most obvious race next for her is a 3-mile novice at Doncaster. Big step up from 2 miles to 3 miles, and that's the one concern. There is a 2.5 grade 2 at Sandown on the 17th of Feb, which is certainly worth considering. But it is usually a better race than the 3-mile novice at Doncaster, which is usually a slightly weaker affair. We couldn't really do Sandown and Doncaster. That would probably be asking too much. So we'll put the entry in at Sandown, and we'll have a discussion whether we think it's worth having a crack at that or waiting for Doncaster.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I mean, actually, from our point of view of the syndicate, it makes sense to be running in these races anyway, because, as you say, having won these novices, we don't really want to be carrying £12 penalties around, and it makes sense to step her up a little bit in class and find out how good she is. So it really is a sort of relationship that seems to work for everyone.
Exactly that, and ultimately these races tend to be on a Saturday anyway. So usually we would all be there having a good time, but obviously we're having a good time over Zoom instead.
Now, we've had a question in from Anthony, and he'd like to know about tongue ties. Obviously, Anything for Love wore tongue tie last time. Why would you use a tongue tie on a horse?
So a tongue ties, for all intents and purposes, are a pair of tights, women's tights, not the red fishnet types, but just a normal, beige pair, or black if you really want, and they wrap around the horse's tongue and tie under the horse's chin. And the whole idea is that horses breathe through their mouth, not their nose, and the tongue tie holds the tongue down to allow the air to go back and down the windpipe. What can happen with a horse is the tongue can, under pressure, can roll back in their mouth and flip the soft palate, which then covers the soft palate is like a flap of skin, and the flap of skin can cover the windpipe, and it ends up flapping like that. So the tongue can roll back and flip that, so it starts flopping over the windpipe. Obviously, not beneficial when a horse is trying to gallop at 30 miles an hour and breathe efficiently. So the tongue tie just holds the tongue in the right place.
Great. Well, thank you for that, and thanks to my dad for the question. Now, we've got a couple of other people on here that would like to ask a question. If you've got time for a couple of more questions, Jamie.
Of course, yeah.
Deborah, you've got a question for Jamie.
Yeah, well, yes, it was for Jamie or Fergal. I suppose what I was interested in was, have you seen any impact on how owners are feeling or coping because of COVID and the lockdown? Because I feel in a syndicate we're very lucky because the costs are spread between us. I just wondered, what the trader's view was really on any impact on racehorses. I know there's been opportunities to buy others cheap, but I guess there's also people who want to stay in who can't. I just was interested to know, really.
Hi, Deborah. Very interesting point, really, and I think every trainer and every owner will probably have a slightly different answer to that. But COVID has obviously impacted some people massively. The vast majority of people, I feel, have actually they're still working, that they're still getting their income, but they're not spending it as much perhaps on foreign holidays or this, that and the other. So I haven't got, amazingly, I haven't got any horses here for sale at all, really. And every time I tend to buy one and try and form a syndicate or partnership or sell it on, I seem to be able to manage it relatively easily. So obviously I'm not speculating perhaps as much as I would do at this time, for fear that I don't want to overstretch myself, for fear that the sort of financial backlash from COVID will hit at some point. But at the moment, we seem to be sort of going through it quite easily.
Okay, thanks for that, Jamie. Good. I'm glad, to be honest with you. It's good. I think racing really matters. It's certainly been a lifeline for me and probably for lots of other people in terms of having an interest during lockdown.
I think that's very true. I was talking to my parents today, and dare I say it, but they get bored, and they're retired, and they haven't really got a huge amount to do whilst in lockdown. So racing is really very much a lifeline for them, really.
Thank you.
Well, Jamie, I think we've got time for one more question. It's been sent in on the chat, so I'll ask it, but it's for John Holton, who asked the same question to Fergal O'Brien, who we had on earlier, so we can compare your answers. And John would like to know, is there a race that at the start of the season you thought, I'd really like to win that? And do you have a horse in the yard that you think just might get his head in front in that race?
Hi, John. Well, I think the answer probably when you're talking to us is with a picture behind Dan's head there is probably fairly obvious that the race that I would love to win is obviously the Grand National. There is no doubt about it. Obviously, we all want to be winning it at the festivals and winning Grade 1s and what have you. Of course we do. But the Grand National is a race that everybody knows about. It's a Grand National that everyone in the world knows about, and it is the most famous steeplechase in the world, in my opinion, and I'm sure in most people's opinion. So the Grand National is very much the race that I would love to go and win, and we've only got one entry in it this year, and it happens to be Hogan's Heights. So I think that's without wishing to be too corny and cheesy talking on the Foxtrot webinar, but that is true.
Well, let's hope that our dreams can come true this season. It's certainly exciting to have a horse that might be lining up at Aintree, and I think we're all really looking forward to seeing Hogan's Height back on the racecourse.
Yeah, very much so.
So, Jamie, thank you very much indeed for your time this evening. Really do appreciate you joining us and giving up the time, and all your and the staff's hard work, particularly in this weather with our 3 horses that you've got in the yard. It's very much appreciated. So on behalf of all the Foxtrot members, Jamie, thank you very much indeed.
That's very kind. Thanks, Dan. And just before I go, I think everybody on the call very much appreciates what you do, Dan, because setting up these webinars and all the Zoom calls and everything else like that, just it's wonderful. So hats off to you, and thank you for doing it.
Well, that's very kind of you, Jamie. Thank you very much. Great. Well, that's all we've got time for this evening, and we've managed to get through. We only had 2 horses running in the last 2 weeks, yet we've managed to get through this week's forum. So well done to everyone for that. Hopefully you enjoyed catching up with Fergal O'Brien earlier, hearing about possible race entries coming up, listening to us talking about our breeding syndicate, and looking forward to getting our foal hopefully towards the end of this month. So thank you all very much indeed for joining us this evening. Great to see so many faces, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks' time. And in the meantime, stay safe and try and stay dry.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks very much, Dan. Bye.